Part 1. Ethan was sitting at his sleek oak desk in his modest London flat when his lawyer's call came through like a thunderclap on a sunny day. Your soon-to-be ex-wife, Chloe, is going for everything, his lawyer announced gravely. She's claiming she's been unemployed for 2 years, totally dependent on you. Wants the house, both cars, and £3,500 a month in maintenance. Ethan blinked in disbelief. Unemployed? That was news to him. He rubbed his jaw thoughtfully. Interesting, he muttered, already sensing a story behind the story. I'll dig a little. Call me back. 6 months earlier, Ethan's perfect world had shattered like a dropped glass. He'd caught Chloe, 31, the woman he'd married 3 years ago, in the middle of a torrid affair with her personal trainer, Jake. Classic, he'd thought, as he packed her bags and sent her to crash with her friend, Lucy. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. 2 weeks before their split, Ethan had noticed strange charges on one of their credit cards, the one Chloe carried. Ring lights, fancy camera gear, lingerie from boutiques he'd never heard of. When he'd asked, she'd laughed it off as a photography hobby. Yeah, right. After his lawyer's call, Ethan's mind raced. Chloe was obsessed with TikTok, posting multiple times a day, utterly careless about privacy. 20 minutes of sleuthing later, he'd found her secret account, Chloe's Charm. The bio read, your favorite London housewife, living her best life. Top 3% creator. Videos poured in, her flaunting designer bags, expensive dinners, and bragging about a 5-figure monthly income. One titled POV, your ex thinks you're broke, but you made £15,000 last month had racked up over 1 million views. Comments were full of cheers. Get that bag. Queen. OnlyFans queen in the making. Ethan's jaw dropped. He dug deeper, linking her TikTok to a Twitter account where she'd pinned a tweet boasting about buying the latest MacBook Pro and iPhone 15 Pro Max. The bio cheekily included an OnlyFans linked SO. She'd been running this hidden empire for over a year, while claiming she was unemployed and financially dependent on him in court documents. Ethan called his lawyer back. How does she claim unemployment while making that kind of money on OnlyFans? Silence on the other end. I have proof, Ethan said. Send it over. This changes everything. Meanwhile, Chloe's camp was spinning a different story. Her lawyer, Mr. Collins, had confidently painted her as a vulnerable woman suffering emotional distress, unable to work due to the breakdown of the marriage. Meanwhile, Chloe flooded Instagram with stories about surviving narcissistic exes and financial abuse, her mother Lorraine cheering her on with endless prayers and heart emojis. But Chloe's biggest mistake was yet to come. She posted a TikTok titled Divorce Day Countdown, securing my bag, joking about Ethan's ignorance of her secret fortune. The video exploded with 1.2 million views. Ethan's friend Terrence, an IT whiz, dropped a bombshell. OnlyFans creators get 1099 forms. They pay taxes. Ethan's lawyer immediately filed a request for Chloe's tax records. Her lawyer tried to block it as invasive, but the judge ruled income sources were absolutely relevant given her claims of financial dependency. Ethan chuckled darkly to himself. Let's see how she likes this game. Part 2. The following days felt like living in a soap opera, except with more paperwork and fewer commercial breaks. Chloe, once the poised and polished woman Ethan had married, was unraveling live on social media. Her phone calls started coming in, breaking the no-contact agreement like a sledgehammer through a teacup. You're trying to humiliate me, she screamed over the line, voice sharp as shattered glass. OnlyFans isn't a real job. Ethan raised an eyebrow. The IRS might disagree, he replied coolly before hanging up. She retaliated with a series of TikToks, portraying herself as the persecuted entrepreneur. One video showed her fake crying over a stack of bills, a £2,500 monthly rent on a swanky flat in Notting Hill, a £700 car lease on a sleek BMW, and subscriptions that could fund a small country's Netflix account. Her mother, Lorraine, took to Facebook with the zeal of a crusader, launching a Justice for Chloe campaign. She plastered every local group with posts accusing Ethan of financial abuse, weaponizing the court system, and being, in her words, an absolute monster. She even rallied her book club ladies to flood Ethan's business with 1-star reviews. The only problem? They were reviewing a completely different business run by a guy named Ed Thompson. Oops. Chloe's crowning blunder was a GoFundMe titled Support Chloe's Legal Battle, painting her as a struggling woman fighting a vindictive ex-husband intent on leaving her homeless. The goal was £40,000. 2 days in, she'd raised £2,400, mainly from her TikTok followers and OnlyFans subscribers. Ethan's lawyer couldn't hide his glee. She's claiming poverty and crowdfunding? This is beautiful. Meanwhile, Lucy, Chloe's roommate and supposed best friend, went live on Instagram with a scandalous confession. Ethan's controlling, cheap, and probably gay, she said with a mischievous grin. Chloe deserves everything. She suffered for years in silence. A commenter asked, if he's so cheap, how does Chloe afford all that luxury stuff? Lucy, without missing a beat, said, girl, Chloe makes her own money. More in a month than Ethan does in 3. That clip found its way into Ethan's lawyer's evidence folder faster than you can say exposure. The day before court, Chloe's lawyer called for an emergency settlement meeting. My client will accept a modest £75,000 lump sum. No maintenance, and she keeps her car. Ethan's lawyer laughed. No chance. This is vindictive. Isn't that the pot calling the kettle black? Ethan joked quietly, but inside, he was ready for the showdown. On the morning of the hearing, Ethan arrived in a tailored navy suit, tie perfectly knotted, shoes polished to a mirror shine. Chloe stepped into the courtroom in a somber black dress that clung to her curves, just enough to remind everyone she was still the woman they'd known. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun, no makeup, eyes rimmed red. Playing the grieving widow of their marriage, behind her sat Lorraine and Lucy, their faces set like statues, shooting daggers Ethan's way with every breath. Judge Harding, a sharp-eyed woman in her late 60s who looked like she'd seen every kind of human drama imaginable, began the proceedings. Miss Chloe, you are requesting the marital home, both vehicles and maintenance based on complete financial dependence for 2 years. Is that correct? Chloe's lawyer nodded, yes, Your Honor. She has been unable to work due to emotional distress. Ethan's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, we have evidence Miss Chloe has been employed and earning substantial income without disclosure. Collins barked, this is an ambush. We had no prior notice. Judge Harding raised an eyebrow. The evidence is publicly available on social media with over 1 million views. Ethan's lawyer connected his laptop to the courtroom screen. First video. Chloe smugly bragging about making £15,000 last month. Second video. The divorce day countdown with Chloe laughing about her secret empire. Third video. A tour of her luxury flat, complete with a champagne glass and designer decor. Fourth video. Chloe boasting, your ex thinks you're broke, but you're top 3% on OnlyFans. Collins turned a shade of purple usually reserved for ripe plums. Judge Harding faced Chloe. Miss Chloe, are you employed? Chloe stammered, it's not traditional employment. But yes, I am earning income. The judge's gaze sharpened. And you claim unemployment and financial dependence. Silence. Ethan's lawyer pressed on. We also have OnlyFans earnings between £12,000 and £18,000 monthly for the past 14 months. Whilst married. Chloe's face drained of color. Judge Harding leaned forward. Miss Chloe, you also raised funds via crowdfunding claiming poverty. Chloe nodded weakly. I have expenses. I didn't ask about your expenses. The judge replied icily. Lorraine stood abruptly. This is harassment. My daughter is being shamed for being an entrepreneur. Sit down or leave my courtroom. Judge Harding snapped. Lorraine erupted into a tirade about patriarchy and discrimination but was swiftly escorted out by court officers. The courtroom held its breath as the judge turned back. Mr. Collins, were you aware of your client's income? Collins' face was a perfect shade of caught red-handed. No, Your Honor. Judge Harding fixed Chloe with a steely gaze. Miss Chloe, did you mislead your counsel? I didn't think it mattered, Chloe whispered. The judge's voice was final. It matters greatly. Ethan's lawyer presented one last bombshell. Tax records showing unreported income for 2023. The IRS had been notified. At that moment, Chloe broke down in tears. Real ones. Shaking the courtroom's solemn air, Judge Harding called a recess. When the court reconvened, her verdict was swift and merciless. Miss Chloe's request for maintenance is denied. The house remains Mr. Carter's property. Each party will bear their own legal costs. I'm referring this case to the district attorney for investigation into potential fraud." Chloe screamed, "This isn't fair. You're ruining my life." Ethan simply shook his head. "You ruined your own life the day you lied to this court." The gavel slammed. The courtroom erupted in whispers. But outside, as Chloe's sobs echoed, a new message blinked on Ethan's phone. An anonymous tip with a cryptic video attachment. Something about the real secret behind Chloe's empire. Ethan stared at the screen, heart pounding. The game was far from over. Part 3. The courtroom drama had barely settled when Ethan found himself back at his flat, eyes fixed on the mysterious video pinging insistently on his phone. The sender was anonymous, the message brief. "The truth about Chloe's empire isn't what you think. Watch carefully." Curiosity piqued, Ethan tapped play. The grainy footage showed Chloe meeting with a sharply dressed man in a sleek black car outside a nondescript office building in Canary Wharf. The man handed her an envelope thick with cash, then slipped a USB drive into her hand. Chloe glanced around nervously before slipping inside. Ethan's brow furrowed. What was going on here? This wasn't just about OnlyFans and TikTok fame. Something darker lurked beneath the surface. Determined to get answers, Ethan called Lucy, Chloe's former roommate and self-proclaimed insider. The line buzzed before she answered, her voice cautious but tinged with excitement. "Ethan, I don't know what you've heard, but Chloe's been playing a dangerous game. That guy in the video, he's not just some investor. Word is, he's connected to a shady financial syndicate laundering money through social media creators." Ethan blinked. "You're kidding." "Wish I was," Lucy replied. Chloe got in too deep. She thought she was just hustling, but she's been used as a pawn. Ethan rubbed his temples. This was turning into a thriller, not a divorce case. Meanwhile, Chloe's social media presence took an unexpected nosedive. Her OnlyFans subscribers plummeted, and the GoFundMe was shut down amid fraud investigations. Lorraine's Facebook account was banned for repeated harassment, leaving her howling into the void of a dozen remaining followers. Chloe's lawyer had withdrawn, citing client dishonesty, and publicly distanced himself from the mess. The district attorney's office had opened an audit, and the IRS was breathing down her neck for tens of thousands in unpaid taxes. At work, Ethan's colleagues whispered, some amused, some sympathetic, but his promotion was confirmed. His handling of the case impressed the senior partners. He even started dating Ramona, a local schoolteacher who found social media utterly baffling and laughed for 10 minutes straight when he showed her Chloe's infamous small dick energy TikTok. But just as Ethan began to feel some semblance of peace, the anonymous messages kept coming. Each one a puzzle piece hinting at a larger conspiracy involving Chloe, the mysterious man from the video, and a web of financial deceit that stretched far beyond London's glitzy social media scene. One night, as Ethan closed his laptop, a text appeared. "You think you know the whole story? Think again. Meet me at the Old Crown pub at midnight. Come alone." Heart-pounding, Ethan debated. Was this a trap or the breakthrough he needed? Either way, he knew one thing. This divorce was just the beginning of a much bigger fight. And somewhere, in the shadows, Chloe watched, her empire crumbling but secrets still burning bright. Part for the Old Crown pub was the kind of place that looked like it hadn't changed since the Victorian era. Dark wood paneling, brass fixtures dulled by decades of smoke, and a faint smell of spilled ale and old secrets. Ethan stepped inside, the low murmur of late-night patrons barely masking the creak of floorboards beneath his polished shoes. He scanned the room, eyes adjusting to the dim light. At a corner table sat a man in his 40s, wearing a worn leather jacket and a fedora pulled low. His face was partially obscured, but the sharp glint in his eyes was unmistakable. "You're Ethan Carter?" the man asked, voice gravelly but calm. "That's me." Ethan replied, heart thudding. "Name's Simon. I used to run accounts for less than legal operations." "Chloe? She's been fronting for a money laundering ring disguised as a social media empire." Simon slid a folder across the table. "Here are bank statements, transaction logs, even some encrypted chats." Ethan flipped through the documents. The sums moved were staggering, millions flowing through a maze of shell companies. all linked to Chloe's supposed hustle. The more he read, the clearer it became. Chloe's TikTok fame was just smoke and mirrors. Simon leaned in. They use influencers like Chloe as cover, fake fans, fake subscribers, fake donations. The cash moves and no one looks too close. Ethan couldn't help but smirk. So all those boss babe videos? Just a very expensive act. Simon chuckled. Exactly. But here's the kicker, Chloe started getting cold feet. The syndicate didn't take kindly to that. That's why you saw that meeting in Canary Wharf. They were trying to reel her back in. Ethan's mind raced. This explained the frantic social media rants, the frantic attempts to crowdfund, even the calls to him. Chloe was desperate, backed into a corner by people who didn't just want money. They wanted silence. As the clock struck 1 a.m., Simon handed Ethan a burner phone. If you want to take this further, you'll need this. It's got contacts, leads, but be careful. These people play dirty. Ethan pocketed the phone and stood, the weight of the night settling on his shoulders. Outside, the London fog curled around the street lamps like a curtain hiding the city's sins. Back home, Ethan's mind drifted to Chloe. Once the woman he loved, now a player in a dangerous game. He wondered if she was a victim or a villain. Or maybe, like him, just someone caught in a mess too big to handle. As he prepared for bed, his phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. You're in deeper than you think. Watch your back. The truth isn't always what it seems. Ethan stared at the screen, a chill running down his spine. Because sometimes, the darkest secrets are the ones closest to home. Part 5. The next morning, London's gray skies felt heavier, as if the city itself sensed the storm brewing beneath Ethan's calm exterior. He sat at the kitchen table, the burner phone lying between his breakfast and his laptop like a ticking time bomb. Every message, every clue he uncovered, pulled him deeper into a whirlpool of questions and danger. He decided to call the number saved in the burner phone. After a tense ring, a woman's voice answered, low and cautious. You have questions, she said. Good. But answers come at a price. Her name was Harper, a former hacker turned whistleblower. She claimed to have had a hand in exposing the syndicate behind Chloe's elaborate facade. Chloe's not just a pawn, Harper warned. She's a player who crossed the wrong people. And now they want to send a message. Ethan felt his pulse quicken. What kind of message? People don't disappear in London without a trace. Watch your surroundings. Trust no one. And, her voice dropped to a whisper, the real mastermind isn't who you think. Ethan's mind flashed back to Chloe's lawyer, Mr. Collins, who had conveniently distanced himself just as the walls closed in. Could he be involved? Or was there someone else lurking behind the scenes, pulling strings with cold precision? That afternoon, Ethan received a text from an unknown number. Meet me at Regent's Park. Noon. No cops. No games. He arrived early, scanning the sprawling greenery dotted with joggers and picnickers. By the duck pond, a figure emerged. A tall woman in a sharp trench coat, sunglasses hiding her eyes despite the overcast sky. You're Ethan, she said briskly. And you are? Call me Morgan. I was Chloe's financial advisor. She smiled thinly. Or at least, I was until I started asking uncomfortable questions. Morgan handed him a flash drive. Everything you need to know about the money trail, offshore accounts, and the people who want this buried. Ethan accepted it, feeling the weight of the file more than its physical mass. Why help me? Because the truth needs to come out. And because some of us have lines we won't cross. As Ethan left the park, a black car idled nearby. The windows were tinted, but he caught a glimpse of a familiar face. Jake, Chloe's personal trainer, watching him with a smirk. Ethan's stomach dropped. The tangled web was closing in. That night, Ethan pored over the files Morgan had given him, uncovering layers of deception. Fake invoices, shell companies, even forged documents linking Chloe, Collins, and others to a sprawling criminal network. Just as he was piecing it together, his phone buzzed again. A message popped up. One last chance to walk away, or everyone pays the price. Ethan stared at the screen, heart pounding. The stakes had never been higher, and the line between justice and danger was razor thin. Because in this game, the house wasn't the only thing at risk, it was everything. And someone was willing to burn it all down. The screen went black. The story was far from over.